Kid.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never,
Money, never, money, money, never, money, money, I know what you conniving.
money, money, never,
Money, never, money, money, never, money, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been knocked for a bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money.
yes, money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk for.
I said money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money.
oh, Joseph. Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money.
money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been knocked for a bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full,
Not to be-
in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money.
yes, money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk for.
I said money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money.
oh, Joseph.
and so forth. And so we are marking time as a society.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money.
money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been knocked for a bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money.
yes, money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk for.
I said money, never,
Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money, now do what you conniving money.
oh, Joseph.
Oh, Joseph, for me. Morning, neighbor, morning. At 70 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour on the 12th of May, in the year 2022. Welcome to another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. I am your host, Kiraki Amsterdam, coming to you live from the studios of KAMS TV located in Buxton. Obviously, we're broadcasting to you via social media, Facebook Live and YouTube. Kindly go over there to YouTube, subscribe, like our page, our channel as they call it, and so that you'll get alerts as to when we're live. Do likewise over here at Facebook. Like and subscribe. Share the live, please. Share the live. Share the live, share the live, share the live. Yes, only. Glasses today. Yesterday it was glasses too. Right? Every day it really should be glasses. But some of us are our own way. And some of us try to preserve ourselves, you know. I recognize when I wear glasses or spectacles or whatever you call them, I look extremely cute. And with that, you know, they say with rights come responsibilities. Yes, and because of my cuteness, I find that I become very attractive to a lot of people. And so all day they call me and they tell me nice things and they tempt me to misbehave and so on. And so I try not to wear glasses too frequently, at least not on air, right? So only if that was your concern, that's the reason why I have not been wearing my glasses frequently on the program. Good? Right. It is not necessarily for my safety or protection, but it is for those who would have their hearts broken. Welcome to Buxtonian Morning Time. It's Thursday. It's not Free Talk Friday yet, but you know, I'm telling you the fact is I feel so energized this morning, if you can call it that. You might not recognize the energy in me, but I feel the energy. I hope you feel the energy too. I hope you got a lot of satisfaction out of your investments yesterday, investment of time and labor and emotions and everything. I hope you got a lot of satisfaction out of it. I hope you also got a lot of rest last night so you could have rested and recuperated. And so I hope you're feeling the energy this morning, right? Because there are lots of things that we will talk about. A lot of it is usually depressing, right? You have to be strong to deal with this place called Guyana and all the antics that are taking place around you. But yes, I trust that you have the energy. Share the life. I really don't want to talk about these issues until we get to 500. I don't know why you're not at 500 yet. It means that people are taking it for granted that somebody will share. But we say when somebody will do it, nobody will do it. And so everybody should do it. So each and every one of you, you 300 plus persons who are on you 300 plus persons who are on the feed this morning, share the live. Share the live. Go ahead, share the live. Share the live while I talk to my good friend and neighbor. Desiree Simmons, good morning. How are you? To wear glasses or not to wear glasses? What do you recommend, Desiree? Do you like me with glasses or without glasses? Which one of these looks am I the cutest? Which one do you believe will break more homes? Desiree, what's up, girlfriend? How you doing? What's happening in your neck of the woods? Claudette James, you're here this morning. Good morning. Coffee says we must focus on the mandate. Yes, we must always focus on the mandate and insist that our representatives, whether APNU, ASC, or the PPP, or whoever claim to be our representatives, be held accountable to the specifics of the mandate. Many times we give people authority over us. Or we give them, yes, authority, let's say authority. But we don't hold them responsible for their behavior with the authority that we've given them. And as I'm talking about that, let me shout out to the people who went down there in the avenue in front of Guyana Public Service Co-op Credit Union yesterday in droves. Scores of people went down there to sign a petition to have the removal of the management committee and therefore to demand an earlier than normal, perhaps annual general meeting and elections to replace them. That is what holding people responsible, holding people accountable looks like. We must not sit and relax and say, we don't put them there, let them fight if they want to fight. No, we must hold them responsible. And people must know that when they behave in a certain way, they are going to be held accountable. I believe within my heart that if the masqueraders, the marauders over at GPSU had the slightest inclination that the membership was going to rise up in such a way and demand their removal, they would have left Trevor Ben alone. Right? They would have left Trevor Ben alone. That's what you call opening or raising up the hornet's nest. Right? Opening Pandora's box. And that's what they did. And so I'm hoping that they really face the wrath of the general membership of the Ghana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. We're going to be talking about them. And we're going to be talking about what has been happening over there. You know, I am very grateful for what I usually say is the opportunity or the trust that people have in me, that they constantly give me the kind of information that will expose a lot of these jagabats. Right? A lot of these jagabats and Jezebels. We are not at 500 yet. We're far from there. So I'm waiting for you to get me to 500. Otherwise, we're just going to be bantering, right? But you best pay attention to the banter because the banter has critical information for you. German Hermanstein, good morning. How are you today, sir? Head cook and chief bottle washer. That's what they call him. Head cook and chief bottle washer over at GPSU. I wonder if it's bottle or bottom washer. Right? Because in this society, you have some people who are sitting in public offices and are nothing else but ass lickers. That's what we call them. Right? Ass wipers. They do all kinds of things in the name of being a good house slave for their own promotion of self and self-aggrandizement. Morning, Jeremy Normanstein. I noticed that Karen Van Slightman Corbin is also a part of the Ghana Cooperative Credit Union. She was there at that press conference. How are you, should I say Mrs. Van Slightman Corbin? Yes, it's a double-barreled name which suggests that she's likely married to Corbin, a Corbin. So good morning to you, Mrs. Van Slightman Corbin. Saskia, how you doing, girl? I got your names. That's the point I'm making. I mean, it's public information. The public knows every one of you sitting on that committee, and what the public doesn't know is which are the ones of you who are really misbehaving. Fortunately, I know. Right? I know. Hi, Mrs. Amsterdam, or is it Miss Amsterdam? There's a Miss Amsterdam over there at the Public Service Cooperative Credit Union, you know. Y'all don't believe that she's my source of information. I'm not even too sure what she looks like. Right? Good. We are not at 500 yet. But time is going, and time is of the essence, because if I hold out for you to get me to 500 before I start addressing these issues, it means that you will not get the opportunity to call in. Good? Wow. This morning I sound very fluent. My tongue is not tying. I wonder, it might be that I'm well rested. Cecile over, yes, the traditional term is chief cook and bottle washer. But I'm wondering if it's not bottom washer or bottom liquor. Right? You know, times change. We moved from the manual typewriter, to the electronic typewriter, to something we call a document what? Document processor. Now we primarily use the computer and keyboard and mouse and so on. Or, well, all of it can be contracted into one thing called a laptop and so on. We use that now to do all of our documentation and so. So, times have changed. So the head cook and chief bottle washer could also change from bottle washer to bottom washer, dependent on the circumstances. Right? People adjust. They adjust according to the stimuli and stimulus that, you know, is administered and so on. As the Simon says, maybe it's the glasses that caused me to be so fluent. Well, very well, thank you. I maybe need to wear my glasses more often, and so I will be fluent. I wonder what glasses have to do with your tongue. Nevertheless, let's get into the issues this morning. We are closer to 500, but we're not there yet. You know, it amazes me, it's amusing, as a matter of fact, that when you look at the these comic shows. If one of the daily comedy were to come on now, you would find thousands of viewers, live viewers. But when you bring on these programs that bring information, important information, and analysis to the viewership, you struggle to get 1,000 viewers. Are we really serious in this country? Is this a country that led the Caribbean in the past and continues to lead the Caribbean in terms of academic achievement? Is it just enough that we get an academic certificate and we tell ourselves that we're brilliant, we're the smartest thing on the face of the earth, we know what we're about? What about current affairs? Nobody pays attention to current affairs anymore? Nobody has interest in current affairs anymore? Or nobody has interest in political discourses? Because a lot of people say politics is a nasty game. Regardless of who is in power, I still gotta work. Right? Is that it? Nobody has an interest in politics? Well, the fact is, politics affects our everyday life. And so let us start talking about politics in everyday life. Several weeks ago, if not months, I said to you that I'm aware of efforts to bribe an officer of a co-op credit union on the East Coast. I still am going to withhold the name of that co-op. Well, it's not a co-op, it's not a credit union, it's a land development co-op, a housing co-op. Yes. I am going to withhold the name of that housing co-op as long as I can, because not that I want to necessarily protect the identity of the co-op, but I want to protect, to a large extent, the asset. And the asset we're talking about is a plot of land, which, according to estimation, can perhaps be allocated to 100 persons, provide 100 house lots. Right? That land is in the vicinity of one of these gated communities being developed by bodies on the East Coast. Bodies. Geographically, bodies scheme, as I would call it, I think is to the west of the land. Yes. Bodies scheme is to the west of the land. And so the land was there, the co-op was getting about its business. Servicing, somebody's on my gate and I don't know why and who. Man, this thing could be worrisome. See the dangers of working at home? Man, I can't say, yes. Nevertheless, the people are getting about their business, receiving, he's not going to go away, receiving applications, processing applications, allocating lands. Right? Procedurally. But the greed of some politicians and their cronies is threatening that process now. My God. Look, y'all give me 1 minute, please. I'm begging all you. Daniel, I am on air until 9 o'clock, January 14th. Yeah, boy. Oh yes, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Patience is virtue, they say. But one friend of mine said patience is virtue, but virtue is a jackass. Right? So you all determine if patience is a good or bad thing. Well, a jackass is a good thing too. It's a load carrier. Yes, so politics and covetousness, greed. Thank you. I will have to make that sign. On air, do not disturb. I'll put it at my gate. Good. Thank you very much. Great idea. You know, some of them won't be able to read it. Okay, I'm being lighthearted this morning, but I'm very serious about what I'm talking about. Yes. So Bodies has this scheme to the west of this plot of land. And of course, those of you who are observant would recognize that when the coalition came into office, most if not all of Bodies' land development or housing development projects came to a halt, grounded out. Nothing was happening. As some people thought they were abandoned, nothing was happening. But as soon as the PPP was installed, now Nathan Fraser, you're telling me I need a gatekeeper. How much are you going to pay my gatekeeper? Because I can't afford to pay the gatekeeper. Yes, we see. So as soon as the cabal was installed, you saw movements on these land developments and these housing development projects, whether under Bodies or other people fronting for members of the cabal and so on. And as these developments started or restarted, the quest for more land became evident again. The greed of some people became evident again. And so eyes were set on this plot of land that belonged to this housing co-op. First set of people to approach the housing co-op to quote-unquote investigate ownership of the land were councillors, chairman and councillors of the Enmore NDC. And they were made aware that this land is co-op property. Y'all ain't got no right here. Y'all ain't got no interest here. Y'all ain't got no jurisdiction here. This is co-op property. They seem to have backed off, but as time will tell, they really didn't back off. Out of the blues, as we would say, a number of squatters descended upon the land, perhaps a dozen squatters. And so the co-op was engaged now in a fight with squatters to get them off of the land. Good? And so while the co-op is fighting squatters to get them off of the land, engaging the police, serving notices and so on, the NDC and or cronies of the NDC and the land developers are continuing to plot how to get the land. One evening, the secretary of the co-op received a call. Hello. Good evening. I understand you're the secretary for the co-op, and that this plot of land belongs to the co-op, and you're defending it and so on, as belonging to the co-op. We are willing to make you an offer that you can't refuse. What's the offer? Michael's, millions of dollars. What kind of millions are you talking about? $11 million. All you have to do is turn a blind eye, walk away. You get $11 million for your efforts. That offer was rejected. That offer was rejected. You heard me talking about that attempt to bribe a co-op official to allow private land developers to access co-op land. I discussed it several times on this program. One would believe that that was the end of the matter. But no. the quote-unquote aggression for takeover continues. And it now involves officers of the, what do you call it? Ministry of Labor, officers of the Ministry of Labor, Co-ops Department. Currently, 2 of them identified. Well, not 2, but currently, definitely 2 of them identified. And these 2 individuals, one is the East Coast officer, if that's the correct term, of the Co-ops Department. Celisa, that's the name, Celicia. Celicia Gafour is responsible for Region 4. She's the East Coast officer responsible for Region 4. And the Deputy Chief Co-op Officer, Suresh Jaigobin. Those are 2 persons that have been identified beyond the shadow of a doubt as aiding and abetting this attempt to take away, steal Co-op's property by a private investor. Why am I so bold to call their names? Because I got the documents. I got the inside and the outside. So let me explain to you what happened. A little while ago, Celicia Gafour and another officer from the Co-ops Department visited, along with the chairman and others of the Enmore NDC, the land belonging to the Co-op. They visited it based on some complaint. They visited it. The NDC proceeded to write the Co-ops Department to raise concerns about the land which doesn't concern them. The acting CCDO, the acting Chief Co-ops Development Officer, having received the complaint, attempted to instruct another officer to address it by way of letter. The officer pointed out to the CCDO acting that we don't have any jurisdiction, and more NDC doesn't have any jurisdiction over this land, and so we don't have to respond to Enmore NDC in relation to this issue they're raising with this land. This is Co-op land, this is Co-op business. And as far as the Co-ops Department is concerned, there is no issue with this land. Up comes Ms. Gafour to say to the CCDO, this needs to be investigated. It has to be investigated. And the CCDO, being who the CCDO is, not standing on firm grounds, etc. And I know what I'm saying, not standing on firm grounds, etc. Basically relented to Celicia Gafour and Jaigobin. Jaigobin, who a former chairman or secretary of the very Co-op, alleges has been in our pocket for several years and remains in our pocket. The end result? The Co-op is now being told that the department is going to be hosting a special general meeting. Special general meeting. Now I want you to pay attention to this special general meeting, because the special general meeting has been used around this country by the Co-ops Department to overthrow rightfully elected leaders of Co-ops and install interim management committees. And so Gafour and Jaigobin and the CCDO and others in the Co-op Department are pushing ahead to disrupt the proper management of a functioning co-op, because it is functioning. This co-op, I remember, would have had its AGM not so long ago, about a year or two ago, perhaps about 2 years, because I think the term is 3 years. About 2 years ago, had their AGM supervised by representatives of the co-ops department. And the officers were sworn by representatives of the co-op department. And so far as we are aware, the officers have been functioning in keeping with the laws that govern co-op. And so there's no accusation of fraud, there's no dysfunctionality at the co-op. But here it is, these two officers, along with their other cronies, are calling upon the officers of the House Land Development Co-op to facilitate the holding of a special general meeting, an extraordinary general meeting, or whatever they call it, What is the motivation? The motivation is $10 million to two officers. So the secretary was offered $11 million, which he refused. And so the offers moved from the secretary to two officers of the co-op department. $10 million. Whether they were split it $5 million, or 6 and 4, or 7, 3, whatever. But $10 million is the reward. That's their 30 pieces of silver. And so they're plotting, they're hatching this plot to corrupt and usurp the roles of the legitimately elected officers of that land development co-op. There are other people involved in this plot. I pointed out to you when earlier we discussed co-ops and IMCs. I pointed out to you that one of the prominent names on these IMCs that are being formed is Saskia. Saskia is part of the Ghana Public Service Co-op Credit Union. She's part of Trevor Ben's committee. She is the mole. She is the implant. She is the Trojan at Trevor Ben's GPSU, Ghana Public Service Co-op Credit Union. She is the handpicked of the wicked and vindictive and corrupt cabal, and works closely for and with Polorijo. And so what is happening at GPSCU is just one instance of what is happening across this country. With this wicked and vindictive and corrupt cabal trying to take control of the resources of co-ops to hand them out to their cronies. Because this is what will happen. Should they succeed, in installing an IMC at this particular land development co-op on the East Coast, by the time they hand back the management of the IMC to its members, the management of the co-op to its members, by the time they hand back that land, that co-op, the plot of land would have already been sold to the private developer, who is not satisfied with that which is being developed to the west of the plot, but also wants to develop that plot. Now you all need to understand this. True co-ops, poor people, ordinary people, people who are willing to make sacrifices, can get access to house lands to build their affordable homes. if those lands find themselves in the hands of private developers, then you're going to have gated communities turning up in communities that are not usually gated. And you're going to have the rich and well-to-do impacting the existence of the people in those communities. Because when these multi-billion or multi-million dollar houses are constructed in those communities, it is multi-millionaires and billionaires who will be able to buy them and occupy them. And then they will determine what the rules are for engagement in the area. And there are people who are the more NDC who are part of this plot to quote-unquote misappropriate the people's resources. Because there are those and there are more NDC there also who have their hands in the cuckoo jar, who too are expecting a payout for making this land transferal take place. Do you understand what's happening? And so the people of this particular area, and I know they know themselves, and the management of the co-op must also organize the people in this area to resist with every fabric of their body, every fiber. This attempt to take over the people's land. Poor people must get a break in this country. Just as how the GPSCU has created a niche to provide a break for poor people by offering them low interest mortgages, low interest loans to acquire motor vehicles and build their homes and so on. And this wicked and vindictive cabal, aided by the likes of Saskia and Harmanstein. You all hear about Frankenstein? Well, this is Harmanstein. Aided by the likes of them, are trying to derail the process for their own individual benefits. You are going to look at a 5 million individual payout for you. Yeah, but this is a good break for me. I can get for investors, I can get to do that. But hundreds of people, scores of people are going to suffer as a result. They're going to be dispossessed as a result. But you don't care three hang about that. You don't care three hang about that. And this is not an issue that you can say is a black and Indian issue. It's a Guyanese issue. Because co-ops are not about ethnicity. Co-ops are about locality and access to resources. You could be Chinese, Amerindian, whatever you want to be, ethnically. But you can become a member of a co-op and you can get access to its land resources, etc. So this ain't got nothing to do with black and Indian and racism. It has to do with classism and covetousness and greed by those that rob street and their friends. And the few minions that they have in the Department of Co-ops at places like GPSCU and so on. Guyanese must be resistant to these pests because that's what they are. Members of that particular co-op. Members of that particular co-op must resist and resist and resist. I understand the co-op management was called and told to find a venue. Don't set me up for him, Ben. If I got Starbucks and I call for Saskia, it could be any Saskia. But if I put a surname to that, that is a specific Saskia. You gonna pay the lawsuit? Go do your research, Corinne Ben. Saskia, that's the name. Then I got a thing to back up what I say and provide a cargage. I'm usually big and bold. I put everything out there. Right? You go look for Saskia and Harmanstein. And I know you know where to find him. Right? I'm going to share some documents with y'all just now. And y'all going to see what is happening in these places by the people who masquerade as representing the interest of the members of the co-op credit unions. Resist them. So the instruction has come to the co-op. It is the intention of the co-op department to hold this special meeting. And you all must find a venue so that we can advertise. Well, I would be a damn fool to give you the rope to hang me. Go find your own venue. Your meeting, you do all the logistics. And I hope members of this co-op are listening. And I hope you will be willing to take my guidance. Y'all don't look after no venue. Y'all don't advertise. Y'all don't partake in the organizing of this meeting, because then they will say that you collaborated to hold this meeting. You agreed for the hosting of this meeting. Don't be fooled. It's not your meeting. You didn't organize it. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't even have to attend. Don't give them any documents. When they turn up, you turn up with placards. I'll tell you and say, take them out of the way. If you remove one or two out of the way, the others will think twice about stepping forward. I don't know what means she is suggesting you use to get them out of the way. But I would say by any means necessary. When you got cockroaches, you got to get rid of them. If bacon ain't walking, then you got to use a shoe. A shoe ain't walking. What else they got? All the different brands of insecticides and pesticides, try them. And if they're walking, maybe sometimes you got to use fire. But by any means necessary, you got to get rid of pests. If I got a whole building in the back of my yard and what's bothering me and all the poison I ain't getting, I use anything to get rid of it, I just light the building on fire. Burn it down. Instead of allowing it to destroy my valued assets. Right? So I think I say get them out of the way. I congratulate the members of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union that turned out in their numbers yesterday to sign that petition to get them out of the way. To get them out of the way. I'm going to show you all something. I hope I find it. Because I have a way. You know when people got a way of hiding things and not remembering where they hid them? Huh? I do that too. I do that too. I hide things and can't tell where I hide them. But right now I'm looking to see if I can find what I hid. Well, let me tell you what I'm looking for. I have a document of evidentiary value that shows that one of the persecutors, I want to call them that, persecutors of Trevor Ben, of the Guyana Public Service Union, the Guyana Public Service Co-op, benefiting the collusion of others on the credit committee, I think they call it, from millions of dollars in loan from the people's money without following the requisite procedure. You know what I said? Without following the usual procedure. Now, naturally, if you go for a mortgage or even some kind of loan, you expect it to produce collateral. Something that the lender can resort to should you fail to repay. But in this particular instance, this individual got a housing loan. The individual got a housing loan with a promise that the documents concerning the property will be assigned to the credit union when they become available through the Ministry of Housing. So I'm not sure that that's normal. It's either you get the documents to get the loan or you don't get the loan. But a number of members of the credit committee signed off on this individual getting the loan. When it came for the conveyance, if that's the correct term, of the documents of ownership for this property, the credit union was informed that the Ministry of Housing cannot and will not issue the document to the credit union. And so as we speak, this credit committee member, Harmanstein, is indebted to the members of the co-op to the tune of millions of dollars and has thus far failed to encumber the property for which this loan was granted. That's just one example of the kind of nepotism that is taking place among members of this committee that would like to see the back of Trevor Ben. Because they come from an era of self-servitude. We are concerned about ourselves, right? And nobody else. Now, you would have also heard that right over the credit union there's now a CEO appointed for the first time. I did mention earlier that that appointment is a questionable one, because my information is it did not follow procedure. It did not follow procedure. Employment, recruitment policies were broken. But somebody was appointed. According to my information, Ms. Adiola Griffith was appointed or identified to be appointed as the Chief Executive Officer. But let's look at the benefits, or the cost, if you want to call it that, to the members of the Co-op Credit Union with the appointment of this individual. There's a monthly salary. As we like to say, it's 6 digits long. Along with that massive monthly salary, there is telephone allowance of $10,000, entertainment allowance of $50,000, commutative travel allowance of $50,000, uniform allowance, 1 month's basic salary as vacation allowance, 42 days annual leave. Right? Now, if you total the salary along with all of these allowances, this individual is going to fetch away comfortably at least $1 million monthly from the coffers of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. My information is that this person was previously finance officer under the Yard administration. Under the Yard administration. And over a period of 3 years, could not give a comfort in excess of $100 million. And this is the person who is going to be the Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. I don't know that anybody has found her guilty of any wrongdoing, but maybe there was dereliction of duty because the necessary reconciliations did not take place under her watch when she was finance officer. And the end result was that over $100 million could not have been accounted for accurately. And so that alone in my mind is an indictment on the ability of this individual. And so we're having this individual now as a Chief Executive Officer, watching over billions of dollars, watching over billions of dollars of the credit union money and other assets. This sounds like madness to me. This sounds like madness. And so what do you do? I like to ask the question, what should be done? What should be done? I'm a proponent of protest. And why you all think when I talk about protest, it always means standing in the hot sun with placards and shouting? There are different forms of protest. And so the members of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union must engage in all forms of protest. Know your handbook, get your handbook, your rule book, read it from back to front, and find all of the ways by which you can protest this madness that is happening at the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. And in the midst of it, despite all the good that Trevor Ben is doing, if you find him guilty of dereliction of duty, he too must pay the price. Like I said earlier, rights, there are responsibilities. If you're given authority, you're also made accountable. And so we have to hold these folks accountable. Especially in these agencies which are looking over poor people's money. The monies and assets of ordinary rank and file Guyanese citizens. We have to hold them accountable. Because looking at the way things are, it's the only hope poor people got. Don't let us slip us by. Don't let it pass us by. Do not sleep at the wheels, folks. Stay woke. Jacobin, Gafour, Acting CCDO, Chairman and Councillors of Enmore NDC, your name calling. The so-called management committee at the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union, your name calling. The rank and file citizens, the membership of these co-ops must not sit back idly by and allow them to have the way. Those monies, those assets were placed, they were acquired with blood, sweat, and tears, protected, defended with blood, sweat, and tears. That's what I want to say to you this morning. I know they're going to come. But like I usually say, let them come so I can get to plaster the nasty, dirty, stinking documents in the public and get them ducking and running for cover. Shots fired. Shots fired. I have a lot of correspondence between people and among people. And all who believe that misrepresentations are made by KAMS and on KAMS TV. But you all prove the misrepresentation. Come prove it. Come put my credibility to the test. Right? Sometimes it's good to drop a red herring here and there so I could bring you all out the woodwork. You all come. Because you all nasty and dirty and stink in your behavior. Why it always has to be one of us? Y'all ain't got a moral fabric? You're that intellectually lazy that you can't recognize that these pittances being offered to you is to destroy the lives of other people is not worth it? But I ain't gonna be people's defender. I am willing to step forward and fill the gap. Let's get ready to rumble. Don't only discuss me and the issues in your little chat groups. Come public, let's address it. The lines are now open. 6225933 is the number to call. (622-5933) is the number to call. Thieves! Them are dressed like police and are run like thief. If night your turn today, a lot of y'all gonna run away. Y'all gonna run from your own stench. If night's your turn today, I ain't gonna run from my own stench. (622-5933) is the number to call. What, y'all ain't want to call? I have a relative who died. Let me play that announcement. Morning, life, good morning.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I know what you conniving. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, you can keep your conniving. Morning, when you've been a corrupum, in a bill tell me morning. Now because your money done, you come with conniving. Morning, when you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me morning. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me morning.
Yes, morning, neighbor.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I know what you conniving. Morning, neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for.
I said, morning, neighbor.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I know what you conniving. Morning.
Oh, Joseph.
Oh, Joseph, poor me. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. I don't want that conniving morning. Y'all know my favorite riddle. I'm looking for the thing that's going to help me to see the thing that they're looking for. Well, I do it. Morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I'm your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is now 7 hours 26 on the 13th day of May in the year 2000 and what am I saying? In the year 2022. Yes, same story. Today's title, Black by Color Only. Does it ring a bell? Does it bother you? Are you scared of having to discuss or confront such a topic? Black by color only? What is Mr. Amsterdam going to be telling us this morning? Who he gonna cuss? Who he abusing? Who he belittling and so on and so forth? Black by color only. That's what we're going to be talking about. But a lot is happening in our society. A lot has happened in our society, and a lot will continue to happen in our society. The one encouragement I can give you is to continue to be aware, stay informed, and so that when you make decisions, you can make informed decisions. I trust that you benefited from the programs of past. Trust you benefited from yesterday's program. It was addressed at a particular group of people, a particular set of actors in our society. But I'm sure it had lots and lots of bits and pieces of information that can benefit you, and lots of information that can aid in your education and improve your knowledge base and so on, so that you can see the eyes through, you can see the country, the universe, people through different eyes. I trust that you went out there to work yesterday, you are satisfied that you achieve your set goals and your rewards are in keeping with your expenditure. And that expenditure doesn't have to be financial only, it can be psychological, it can be physical. We expend energy. A lot of people don't value the expenditure of energy. I remember not so long ago, one person came to visit a project I was doing. They came to check it out because they had an interest. And when I mentioned, I said, we decided to go this route because if you go that route, it's going to be much more expensive in terms of not only material but labor costs and so on. The person looked at me in surprise and said, I thought you were doing it yourself. I thought you were doing it yourself. And in their mind, based on that reaction, that comment, I am seeing them say, if he is doing it himself, then why is he talking about labor cost? right? And that's one of the problems we have as individuals. We don't value ourselves. We don't value our inputs. We only value the inputs of others. We only pay for the inputs of others. Right? We don't put a dollar value to our inputs. We put a dollar value to the inputs of others. And I'm encouraging you this morning to start to recognize your value. What is your value in all that you're doing? What is your value in these projects that you're doing? Every day I sit and I ask myself, what is my value when I give up so many other things to be here daily for 3 hours? I know there are those who will say, Mr. Amsterdam, you are not here for 3 hours because you have the replay of the previous day's program for about 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. So technically you're here for about 2 hours, 2 hours and 1 hour and a half. No, I'm here for 3 hours. Because from the time Buxtonian Morning gets started, I am here. I have to be here. I have to monitor the feed. I have to ensure everything is going right. I might be multitasking sometimes, but I have to stay more connected to the program and so on and so forth. Sometimes when I get carried away, and they say anything that will go wrong at the worst possible time. And so sometimes if I get distracted to the extent that I'm not paying attention to the program, you know what happens. You have long chunks of silence and all kinds of madness happening on your screen and so on, and you're fretting. Good? So just for clarity, I'm here with you generally 3 hours every morning. And so sometimes I sit and I reflect on the cost of that. What would I have achieved if I were using those 3 hours differently? I know what I would have achieved. And then I weigh that cost or that quote unquote loss of 3 hours, as some people might see it, as against what the gains are in terms of educating our people. And I have concluded that the opportunity cost, big words, big terminology, big whatever we're talking about this morning, I will talk about the opportunity cost that I've mentioned. The opportunity cost of using 3 hours of my time every morning to talk with our people is far less than not talking with them. Right? It might be high financially, but it is far less when you consider what it might cost you not to talk with them. There's another way I can put that. I usually see as teachers, we can decide whether or not children or individuals will break into our homes or not. It depends on how much we give to them. And as teachers, we always know teachers are underpaid, teachers are mistreated, and so on. Teachers are disrespected, especially by Sitare Gyal, who, even as we're talking, is talking about keeping the teachers in school through the July-August usual vacation period. But when those teachers sit back and ask themselves, if we don't teach, if we don't educate, if we don't improve the quality of thinking, of the citizens of this country, what will be the outcome? Right? And so when you weigh those costs, you come to the conclusion, boy, I might as well do this thing, because if I don't do it, then the consequences would be dire. In passing, yesterday I went to a popular hardware store, and I ask one of the sales attendant if the store has overcoats. Do you have overcoats? She looked at me and she said, eh, what? Raincoat? I said, overcoats. Overcoat. Yes, we have raincoats. So instead of being rude, I held my peace. I walked out of the store and I said, oh God, we lost in this country. What is an overcoat? Is it a raincoat? Y'all help me to understand that. I know a raincoat is a raincoat. An overcoat is supposed to be something that is not a raincoat. In terms of the trades, an overcoat is that there's another word which we call it, a lot of people call it jumper, right? That which you put on to cover your other garment while you do work which might very well soil it. Nevertheless, the whole thing is that we have to consider the cost of what we do. And in considering the cost of what we do, it is important that we value our input. Right? Value our input. But a lot of us are not caught up in the habit of valuing our input and examining the impact of our input. So we value everybody else's input. We value everybody else around us, but we don't value ourselves. And it's important that we do that. Because if we don't do that, well, by the time you check it, what you come to realize is, I have been losing more of myself. Others have been gaining more of me. And at the end of the day, when you look around, you have lost so much of yourself that you can't recognize yourself anymore. And others have had the better part of you. And they basically define you. Right? So you're giving and you're losing yourself in the process of giving. And you're not recognizing the value of what you're giving. And the other people are collecting and they're collecting and they're collecting and they're benefiting because they recognize the value of what you are giving. And when you can't recognize yourself anymore because you have given so much that you have lost your value, they in turn define you based on that. Somebody give me a thumbs up if I'm making sense, because I hope I'm making sense. GT Wood Girl say my volume is low. GT Wood Girl, after you leave today's program, go and get the ear specialist to give you an ear flush, because you're not supposed to have saliva in your ears. Not my fault. I'm just teasing you there, girlfriend. I don't know what I can do about this volume thing. Let me check my mics. Because as far as I know, my mics are right up. Right, my mics are right up. Sometimes I think y'all just want to swallow these microphones instead of turning up your devices or buying Bluetooth speakers. I told you, get Bluetooth speakers and play them so hard that your neighborhood would hear everything that we're talking, even when we're talking the name. Like Jagobin and Gafoor and the likes. Right? The Harmansteins and the Frankensteins and so on. Good? Anyways, I am instructed that I should go get my glasses. The drinking one or my spectacles. But give me a minute, let me get that. You have to be respectful and take the counsel of your elders. Give me 1 minute. beg pardon, make live I mash big woman too. So I beg him pardon this morning. I don't know where it is. I can't find it at its usual place. Maybe it's left in the vehicle somewhere. Y'all forgive me for this morning, man. You see why you're accustomed to being a rogue? Comes back to haunt you. Yes. So let's talk about valuing selves. We we give so much of ourselves without valuing it that we lose our own identity in giving. And the other people define us according to that. Even as I left here to go and look for that peer, this example came to mind. Growing up, we had an attitude, in Buxton in particular. And I know for a fact that attitude, quite frankly, spread across black communities and black people, African Guyanese, Guyanese of African descent. And our attitude was generally, which one we said, who? Them can't cook for me. And you know who the them refer to. Them can't cook for me. I cook lang water curry. I like my curry with body. Let's cook sappy cook up. I like my cook up dry. Right? I want to cook up not sorwa and kitchery. Right? We had that attitude. And so if it is you have to venture out of your home or out of your community to buy food on the street side, you know, or everybody expected that your food was going to come from people looking like you. And so you were supporting an enterprise, albeit a cook-up stand, which a lot of people sought to denigrate. Yeah, listen to the other side and you're going to always hear they try to bad talk your cook-up stand. The vice president, chief head cook and chief bottle washer, always throwing shades at people talking, but the only business y'all know is cook up. Right? But the other day, David Hines had to make reference to where black people were buying black pudding. True? Where black people are buying black pudding. David Hines had to talk about it. He talked about how surprised he was to see this crowd around this particular person in this particular location. And when he looked, he was quite surprised at who the black pudding vendor was. And traditionally, when you want a good black pudding, a good sauce, and stuff like that, that's not the direction. Those are not the people you went to for it. So how is it that that coin was flipped? How is it such a crowd was there looking for this thing that y'all were the experts at? Because you gave so much of yourself that you can't even recognize yourself anymore. Let me break that down for you. Many of us have our skills. Let's talk about black pudding making in this instance. And we are so proud of our skill. It is putting money on our in our pockets, food on our table. It is what is empowering us. But then we really don't recognize the true value of that. And so we're willing to share it with somebody else. Ricardo saying I'm not discussing whether black pudding is good to eat with real blood or not. Right? To each his own. I don't eat black pudding, I don't eat white pudding. Right? But to each his own. That's not the source of the discussion. The source of the discussion is the fact is that here it is, you have a skill, as in black pudding making. Right? I had a stepmother who, within 3 hours, used to sell like 10 to 15 5-gallon buckets of black pudding on a Saturday. Or let me don't say 3 to 4 hours, I might be exaggerating. But let's say on any given Saturday, she would sell 10 to 15 5-gallon buckets of black pudding. I'm talking about 5-gallon buckets when it is already cooked. Right? So Ramash is talking about evolution. Let's talk about that same evolution. Right? So we have this skill which we are using as a source of financial empowerment and empowering our family and so on. But we really don't recognize the value of that skill for what it really is. And somebody from the other side comes and befriends us, and you know, it's something I always it's something I like, you know, and I always wonder how you just make it. You could teach me, even if I got to give you a small piece. Even if I got to give you a small piece. And many of us, without the wisdom, without placing value on what we have control of, are always willing to share the knowledge. And so you have the other people now competing with you for making a good black pudding. Right? You got the other people competing with you for cooking a good cook-up. And they get ahead. They get so far ahead doing just that which you taught them to do, and then they look down upon you and say, you're good for nothing. You ain't got no purpose. Since there was a little boy, you'd up on the street corner selling 2 yards of black pudding. And by the time quarter the day finish, your 2 yards of black pudding finished, and people come in and all they're telling them is black pudding done. You're not seeing you don't have the vision, you don't have the dream of ensuring you have the biggest black pudding production facility in the local. You're not increasing the amount of black pudding that you're putting out. Right? But the person or persons that you taught is selling 10 and 12 times that amount of black pudding. And they become the more popular black pudding person. Because all hours of the day you can go get black pudding from them. And when you look across, you say, well, Jenny really doing well. Look, Jenny by a car the other day. You don't recognize yourself in Jenny. You're giving so much of yourself to Jenny. But you don't recognize yourself in Jenny. It is what you have given to Jenny that has her buying a car. And your failure to recognize the value of what you've given to Jenny, that guy you sitting down still selling 2 yards of black pudding. Huh? Something is wrong when we don't recognize the value, when we don't value what we have, when we don't value our inputs. That's the way we end up. No, Curtis, the line's open at 8 o'clock or thereafter. This morning it looks like 8:30. I didn't start spilling half of my gut yet. Right? Good? We have to start recognizing that value. Because when we fail to recognize that value, we accept the stereotypes. That people foist upon us. Good? We accept the stereotypes that people foist upon us. We ain't got no purpose. In short, this is what you're asked to do. It's on your screen there. Stop feeding the same lies that you ate to your babies. Stop feeding the same lies to them. Black pudding is a side hustle. Black pudding is not a main hustle. Stop telling them that. Stop telling them that. Black pudding ought to be your main hustle. Because you are in control of black pudding. And working with Jenny in our kitchen over at Lusignan to make the best cook-up ought to be your side hustle. As a matter of fact, it ought to be no hustle. Right? Unlock the brains of your children to the truth so that they wouldn't repeat the lies of yesterday. That's deep, right? Very deep. Unlock the brains of your children to the truth so they won't repeat the lies of yesterday. Stop giving your children the impression that this thing about us not having purpose, us not being good at business, us not having camaraderie, us not having cohesive family relationships. Stop selling that lie to them. And preach the truth, teach the truth, so that they can unlock the potentials that they have. A lot of people believe that in order for you to have a successful business, you have to be doing 10 and 12 and 14 products. No, you need one. One. And you need to dedicate your energy and time to that one. There must be a main one. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. What you create, what you own, is the only legacy you can pass to your next generation. What you create, what you own, is the only legacy that you can pass to your next generation. If you're good at making black pudding, you own it. You defend it with all of your might. And you build upon it. Because that is what you can pass to your next generation. You can't pass no government job to your next generation, or no managerial position that you got with the government or private sector to your next generation. In many instances, you can't even create employment for your next generation in those very agencies. You can't even hire them. Right? Other people might get the opportunity to hire their next generation because they run things. But you can't even hire or empower your next generation sitting in some of these very high-class positions you tell yourselves you occupy in private sector and public sector. But those very high-class positions can't empower your people. You can't do anything for them. And so identify your strengths. In some instances, it's difficult for many people to identify their strengths. And that is why I always talk about people black like me and you that hold constitutional offices that got tremendous power, not only to defend and protect themselves, but to defend and protect their people. And they do not use it. Because what? They have given so much of themselves that they don't even recognize themselves. Let me put that into context for you. The history of the Guyana police force would show that for the greater part, except there was a commissioner of police named Balram, I think. I seem to believe that there was a commissioner named Balram. The majority of commissioners of police for the Guyana police force were blacks. And the majority of people who died extrajudicially at the hands of the Guyana police force were blacks. And the majority of the people who have been abused, physically and otherwise, by members of the Guyana police force were blacks. Why? Because the black commissioner of police has given so much of himself to the other people that he can't even recognize himself. He believed that his ascension, his rise to commissioner of police, is because of the what? Because of the I'm lost to that word. The goodwill of the other people. And so he owes it to them to become commissioner of police. And since he owes it to them to become commissioner of police, he has to be subservient to them. That's an example I want to use. So when people of their ilk infringe the law, instead of throwing the book at them like he will throw the book at blacks like himself, he tries to mitigate. He tries to soften the blow because he owes it to those people. He owes his success to those people because he has given so much of himself to them that he doesn't recognize that his success really and truly is because he could stand on the shoulders of those who came before him and made the sacrifices. In short, he becomes black by color only. He becomes black by color only. Transfer that analogy to those who are sitting at places like the Ghana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. Those who are sitting in the co-ops department at the Ministry of Labor. Those who are sitting at the Home Affairs Ministry. Those who are sitting at the Ministry of Education. Those who are sitting in all kinds of positions of authority around this country. Black, like me and you. But when you look at their policies, it says that they have no real consideration for the blackness in them. They're only black by color. A caller called yesterday and said instead of public shaming these folks at the Ghana Public Service Union who black like me and black like us, why don't we try to have quiet conversations with them on one-on-one and try to get them to understand? Where were these people living all the time? Under a rock? Were they living in the same society, under the same group of people who are now sitting in power again when black people were being murdered wantonly? When black people not so many months ago were being kicked out of their jobs without reason? Where are they? Under a rock? Even while the discrimination continues from this group of people who are sitting in government, when they distribute cash grants, it's discrimination. When they award contracts, it's discrimination. When they give out house lots, it's discrimination. Everything that they do has a discrimination, racist ring to it. These very people live in this society, and you need to sit with them individually to reason with them that what they are doing to their own people is part of the decimation that is being carried out by this cabal. Is it that they don't understand? Is it that they don't recognize? Or is it that in their minds they are part and parcel of the oppressors? Because the oppressors are responsible for their elevation. And so when you have people thinking that their rise to power, their elevation, their very existence is dependent on the other people and oppressing their own people, what reason can you reason with them to get them to understand? They say beasts don't reason. It is alleged that years ago, a certain black man who was in the belly of the beast of the PPP had uttered the words. It is said, it is alleged. I wasn't there, I didn't hear it, but I hear references to it. The only thing I like black is my shoe. Black by color only. not mentality, not vision, not history. They have no connection to the black history. And so they have no roots in the past. And they don't see their present and their future connected to that past. Are you telling me that people who are deeper in their blackness than the color, than just the color, would sit around as managers, as committee members of the management committee of the Ghana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union and make the kinds of decisions that they'll be making? If they had an historical review, if they were connected to the past, they would certainly recognize that not so long ago, the Public Service Corp Credit Union did nothing to empower people looking like them. They would recognize that it is a racist agenda that has this cabal trying from every angle whatsoever to prevent Trevor Ben from being employed, much less managing anything that is progressive. They weren't under a rock. They aren't under a rock. Have they forgotten all the charges left, right, and center against people like Lowenfield and Mingo and Vala Lawrence and the deputy CEO of GCOM? What's her name? Have they forgotten the wanton charges against those people? Look at the people who are charged coming out of the election fiasco. All black people. Are you saying that the management of the election and electoral process was conducted only by black people? You had almost 50 boxes that had no statutory documents inside, coming from polling stations where the other people were in charge. But none of them were brought before the court. Are you saying that these people who are black in color and are making decisions that are anti-black are people that you should sit and reason with? Tell them to see what? Public shaming for me is what might be your last resort. Your only resort. I'll give you a story, and I'm not going to call name. All I will say is that individual sits as part of the management committee of the Ghana Public Service Cooperative Union. And people are telling me, reason with them because they're black like you. Reason with them quietly and see how you can work around the issues. It's 9 minutes past 8 o'clock hour. I know of an individual who was given, one would say, the biggest opportunity for self-actualization, for upliftment, for promotion by one of their own, handpicked by one of their own, favored by one of their own. And when so appointed, took that appointment to undermine The very one that handpicked and chose them and ensure that they were appointed for that elevation. They say a snake is a snake. And regardless of what you do for snake, it will bite you. Because it's in its nature to bite you, regardless of the color of the snake. And so a lot of these people that folks believe that you have to sit with and reason with, they pass the stage of reasoning. It is in their nature to be serpent-like. They've given so much of themselves that they can't recognize themselves. They've played so much to the whims and fancies of other people to get their selfish ways, that even when they arrive at a place where they have the authority, where they are protected by the law, where they can make decisions that will benefit their people, they do it for the other people and oppress their own. What reason you could reason with them? They have already determined in their minds that my path forward is in servitude to this set of people. And to prove that I can be a good servant to this set of people, I will oppress my own people. And that is what is the problem we have. That is the problem we have. We got all the skills to success. The one thing that might be lacking is recognition of self, and importance of self, and value of self. And self in this instance is not individually. Self as in community. Let me tell a story. You will be willing to teach this friend who loves black pudding and always wanted to know how to make black pudding. You will be willing to teach them even for a raise. They might be willing to pay your raise, but you might, in your friendship, be say, ah man, don't worry though, I'm going to show you. And turn around to the same friend and say, I always like dal puri, and I don't know how to make it. Teach me how to teach me how to make it. You've seen them make dal puri before. You know they can make a good dal puri. But they will either do one or two things. Keep putting it off and frustrate you so you forget your interest in knowing how to make their dal puri. Or tell you they don't know how to make it good. It's mommy that's helped me, and she ain't gonna get the time to teach you. So not only have they retained their skill, but they have gone with yours to enhance what they do. And so before you catch yourself, they got a big thriving food business, whatever you want to call it, and you still selling 2 yards of black pudding. But you don't recognize the value of what you gave them to enhance what they're offering, while you're losing yourself in giving to them. And you blame everybody except yourself. Grenjan do none for me. Black governments never do none for me. Did you stop to think that when black governments stop the main town council from breaking down all of your stalls around Starbuck Market, they were doing something for you? No. Because other people benefit from it. But who are the majority of people with stores around Starbuck Market? Did you stop to think that when the mayor and town council was allowed under black government to permit the breach of the Municipal and City Council Town Council Act to allow pavement vending, that they were doing something for you? No. Who are the majority of people doing pavement vending? Check that as against where the majority of people with big commercial establishments on Regent Street where pavement vending is prevalent. But black government didn't do nothing for you. We are accustomed, we have gone to the place where we are giving so much of ourselves that we are not even recognizing ourselves when it is important to do that. And many of us are black by color. We are in a black container, but inside there's no presence of blackness. It might more be emptiness or the replacement of our blackness by something else that is not black. We are conveniently black. When it suits our cause, we're black. When we want to encourage our people to forget the abuses that we pile upon their heads for the entire year, in the month of August, from August 1st and 2nd, we dress up in with dashiki and say, hey, I've arrived. I am one of your black brothers. Where was your blackness for the other 11 months of the year? Where is your blackness? We get a big contract. By the hook or the crook, we get a big contract. And instead of employing the people who have been close to us and around us all the time, say, nah, they don't know how much money this contract value. Nah, they don't want too much of my money. And so we go far afield and we hire the other people. And in order that they can execute the work, the job, how we want it executed, we have to teach them some of our skills along the way on the job training. And so when they're going away, they're taking some of our methods with them to improve on their methodology. But when they get a big contract, even if they employ us, we're farthest away from the real knowledge that is going to be dispensed on that contract site. You know that? It's now 19 minutes past 8 o'clock hour. I'm going to teach you I'm going to share a personal story with you. I never like to sit down. Every bit of knowledge I have, I see commercial value in it. And you ask the people around me, every bit of knowledge I have, I see commercial value in it. If you don't see me using it commercially, start thinking, he ain't ready yet for it. But as long as he has acquired that skill, he sees some kind of commercial value in it. Let me address Wendy here before I go on. The guy who plants grapes is being told to share his ideas how it was done. Well, let me tell you this. The minute he shares his idea is the minute he's going to become the smallest grape farmer in this country. Because the facilities that he's asking this administration for right now, so that he can expand his grape production, even if they give him, let's say, 5 acres of land, they will give to their own 5 times that or 100 times that. And so when you come to advantage of scale, they will outdo him. They will give him the land in exchange for his ideas. But they will be giving their people support and facilities to execute those ideas. And he will get none. So, he can't accuse them of not giving him the land that he asked for. But that is all he will get, the land that he asked for. And his ideas will be in the hands of other people who will be able to make better use of it because they will get the support of their folks in government. I'd rather my grape farm stay as small as it is if I have to trade that knowledge for the land to expand it. Because here's how this thing works. And patience, I said to you, all you need is one idea, one product, and the willingness to work with it and develop it. Patience plays a part. Because if I'm the sole grape producer in Guyana, there are people who would want to buy my grapes simply for the novel fact that it is produced in Guyana. Nobody else has the opportunity to market grape that is produced in Guyana. And so it becomes, the world is talking about organic, but it becomes like a heritage product. Top of the line. Exceptional. And so you can get a premium market value for it. And so if, based on the availability of lands to me, I can produce 100 bunches of grape a year, 100 people know that they stand 1 in 100 chances of getting a bunch of that novel product. And will be willing to pay a premium price for it. And while you can get that premium price for it, your responsibility is to save up your coins from that premium price. And in time use it to expand your production. In other words, you alone plant your grape. You alone sell your grape. Put your money to use and buy another piece of land and expand as time goes by. I like he I would sit down and talk with. So that he must know that he should hold on to the idea. Anybody getting the idea how to produce the grape must be his children. So that there can be continuity. And in passing on the idea to them, they must know that you got to guard this with your dear life. Right? That is what they must know. People must never be allowed to know your trade secret. Don't teach them. They're going to work against you because they got more access to capital than you. They got more access to government than you. They got more friends in government than you. They're going to come and surpass you and then look down on you and say you're a damn fool. You ain't got no purpose. You see? How long you doing though? I just come and look up fire you again. They got so many big names. Again, let me say big names in contracting. Construction and otherwise. Big Indian names. Do your research. Do your research. Find out who were the backbones of those very big contracting and construction businesses when they were starting. Find out. Find out who were their backbones. And find out where those persons are now in comparison to where the owners of these businesses are. A lot of black men and women will tell you they built this business and they built that business. They worked alongside this owner and they worked alongside that owner. But when you look around, the owner is up there and they're still down here. Because they didn't recognize the value of what they had. I said I'm telling you a story before I open the lines. It's 26 minutes past it. In the times of trouble, whatever that year was, I caused to leave Buxton. I lived in Georgetown for about 4 years. I was employed in the Education and Public Relations Department of the Ghana Defense Force. Part-time. While I was working there part-time, through the link-up of a good brother and friend, the late Lennox King, I started doing stock management and accounting with the knowledge I got from my diploma in commerce for a business named Fantasy Imports. The guy's name was Nurse. I can't remember what Nurse he was. But Nurse had one of the biggest businesses, one of the most recognized businesses, importing flowers, floral items from China. Them decorative flowers and so on. Beautiful. Right at King Street there, just off Regent. Right? Thriving business. Right? That was Nurse's business. And in order to do management of stock and so on, they started using, first they computerized the caching system and so on, billing system. And the software at the time was Dakizi that they were using. I learned Dakizi. And so I was given the task of inputting and so on and so on, and so, stock management. Nurse had a goddaughter. Because he and another Indian businessman were good friends, as they would say. And the Indian man's daughter was Nurse's goddaughter. And during one of the August vacation period, while the child was home from school, Nurse brought her to his business. And he asked me, Mr. Amsterdam, to teach her how to use Dakizi. How to do the stock management. And I danced. And I danced, and I danced. And when he kept insisting, I said to him plain and straight, Mr. Nurse, with all due respect, I didn't come here as a teacher. As far as I know, I am doing what I am paid to do, what you asked me to do, what I was employed to do. I ain't teaching nobody. But while I told him that, there was his right-hand person, a black girl, a girl from BV named Winnie. I don't even remember all of her correct names and so on, but we call her Winnie. And I taught Winnie, quietly, how to do stock management using Dakizi. And I offered to teach one of his children how to do stock management using Dakizi. Quietly. I am saying all of that to say this. I recognize several things. That Were I to teach this young girl, his goddaughter, how to use this system, I'm empowering somebody that is not me. When there are several others like me who can benefit from the empowerment, especially the immediate offspring of the owner of the business, who else should know this thing except them? But instead of looking closest to him for this empowerment, he got way past out of this circle to look at his goddaughter who doesn't look like me nor himself. And so I refused to teach her. Sometime after, whenever we were a party company, just watch me and cuss me. Say, you wicked. You refuse to teach my goddaughter, but you were teaching other people. I guess up to now you ain't get a memo. He has died. God rest his soul. His business did not survive. God rests the soul of the business too. Because for a lack of vision, not only people will suffer in terms of the individuals, but the legacy that they leave, their children, will also suffer. And always keep that in mind. What you know must be used to empower you and your people. Your blackness must not only be by color. It must go deeper than that. Self-preservation is nature's first rule. I must preserve my people first before looking outside. Yeah, David Hines always say you can't cause the people looking out for the people. It's human nature. But you could demand your pie, your slice of the cake, your share of the cake. A lot of our people who are sitting in positions of influence are black only by color, but extremely selfish in their thinking and are prepared to serve the other people, help the other people to mash us up for their individual gains. And that is what we have to continue to push against, push against, push against. And wherever we find them, we have to out them. And so people will know, beware. This is a snake. It might be of your color, but its true nature is only to bite. The lines are 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the BUXTONIAN Morning Time. Let the calls begin. Y'all tell me about washing them dirty linen in public. And when we're talking about that, I got some positive feedback on the co-op land issue that I spoke about. I understand Polorijo step in. 1. And 2, I understand that there's a signature campaign going on with members of the Guyana Public Service Co-op Credit Union to dismiss the management committee and have fresh elections. Kudos. The requirement of the law is 25 signatures. I understand they're way past 25, but they're still collecting signatures. And if you're a member of the co-op, go and put your signature there. Go and put your signature there. Because they only look like you. They are snake-like in nature. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Kadafi. Beautiful talks this morning. And what you just said, you're absolutely right. A lot of our people does that because I see it. I see it all the time, Kadafi. And they would not help you who are a black person. They will go all around and help anybody else. But when it comes to you, empowering you and telling you and doing the right thing for you, they wouldn't do it. I've seen it. I don't need people to tell me. I've seen it with my eyes. What you said this morning is more power for you, and you're absolutely right because people are doing it every day. People right in this country here, all around, people empowering their people. They're empowering their people to do things, and we people are not doing it. And what you said, Kadaki, is so powerful and moving. As I sat here listening to you, it is very empowering. And I hope people are listening to it, that they should take on some of the things that you're talking about. It is serious. Last night, I listened to Rick Burke. It is so sad. I don't know. You guys talk about it, but I don't know where Guyana is going. I do not know. If you heard Mr. Burke, what he said last night, it is Guyana is gone. And if they do not stand up, Guyana would not come back. The Indians gonna take it and run with it, because you know why? The APNU, the AFC, all of them sitting down there. And while the people beating them, beating them, beating them, you don't want a diversion. You want what is right for you. You have to stand up and say what you want. They're not, they all of them thinking, oh, they're going to shoot us down, they're going to shoot us down. No, how much of you they're going to kill? They cannot kill all of you if you don't stand up for what you believe in. Ain't nobody gonna stand up for you. They're gonna ride you. They're gonna ride you to the ground. They're sinking you in the ground. They're just digging the shovel and not putting you right up top, all the way down. They're putting you down and then cover you up with a board and then cover you up again. What for? Because they want that, they see that we people are not helping each other out, and that is the reason why. And as I talked about last night, Mr. Ranger brought this on to us, because if he had did what he was supposed to do and let people be accountability for what wrongdoing they have done. Look how many black people who have West Indian parents that is in this country run for power in this country and have done wrong. They jail them, and when they're done, they come out and they sit in their corner. Let them sit down and think to know what they have done wrong. All right? You have a blessed day, Kadaki, and take good care, okay?
Thank you, caller. Let me address Ziggy Butas before I do anything else. Ziggy Butas says that I am supposed to be a Christian. But I'm dividing people by race. I'm a good student. I learn. I internalize. You're supposed to be a Christian and you're dividing people by color and race. How sad. We are Guyanese. We need to look out for all people. I rebuke you. I rebuke you too. As they say, back to sender, Ziggy Butas. Hold the line, caller. Back to sender. I rebuke you too, Ziggy Butas. Let me tell you why I rebuke you too. We are Guyanese when it suits a set of people. All of us are Guyanese when it suits a set of people. One Guyana only suits a certain set of people. We are one Guyana. We are all Guyanese. One people, one nation, one destiny. When it suits a set of people. When they want to have their way and their way only. And so I rebuke you, Ziggy Butas, when those that are sitting in political office and power exhibit the behavior that says that we are one people, one nation, one destiny. I'll be happy to embrace it too. Right? Let's talk about me being a Christian. And so I shouldn't be dividing people by race and color. That's the problem with Christianity. Christianity tells us love everyone equally and embrace everybody as your brother and sister. What does Islam tell you? Or worse yet, what does Hinduism tell you? Does Islam teach the oneness of humanity? I assume it does. Are you seeing the exhibition of the spirit of oneness of humanity from your so-called Muslim president? Does Hinduism teach oneness of humanity? If it does, are you seeing the exhibition of the spirit of oneness of humanity from your Muslim, your Hindu representatives of the government. I said it before, and I'm saying it again. My sources have told me that one of the worst ministers of social security or social, whatever you call it, social whatever, they've ever encountered is Vindya Prasad. She's a leading Hindu priest or whatever you want to call it, representative in this country. Ziggy Brutus, let's talk. The Christianity you're talking about and the division of people by color, the very people who brought Christianity to us, the very people who represent Christianity to us, the very people who are supposed to be the face of Christianity, divided us by color. They call black people chattel. They introduced slavery. They call us less than humans. Caller, your life, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, good morning. Can I speak now?
Very well.
Yes, the man who is planting the grapes, I don't feel that he should give his ideas to anybody. Because once he do that, he finished it. And the people will take that and monopolize on it and kick him out. And then the first thing you're going to hear, they're going to highlight yourself and say, black man can't do nothing, as they always say. So he should not. And some of the people in the comments, Kadaki, don't worry with them, because they come on these lives to cause distortion and all kind of things. And if you get down and you answer them, they get cybercrime involved and you're in problem. So you let people like Ziggy Brutus and them and Wendy Apps. Don't bother with them. Now when it comes to this African thing, we have got to maintain our history. We have got to know what we were and where we are now. And when we finish putting ourselves in that balance, we must then judge for ourselves which way we are. If we close to what we came from or far away, and I think we are far away. You made mention of the police force. Now, way back when in slavery, Master used to get slaves like ourselves to beat us. And if you look at the makeup of the police force got the same master mentality. Who Master used to pay slaves to beat? The black people, the Africans. When the other quality of workers came, they were indentured. They were not to be whipped because they were indentured. And if you look at the makeup of the police force still got a master mentality. They would hunt down the black people, the Africans, and kill them just to be good in the eyes of the masses in the police force. So as long as you got the police force, remember, they are an arm of massa. Louis Farrakhan said that. And if you examine and you look at police force all around the world, they have that same mentality. One other thing, now as our independence approaches, I hope you and Dr. Hines could do a few programs highlighting and making known the symbols of our nationhood, like the coat of arms, the flag, the national anthem, the national motto, and the national pledge. Because many people listen to this program and these programs, and when you should do something like that, Guyanese will know, like how I know, the motto in Guyana is one people, one nation, one destiny. Is the done stub too dunce to repeat those words of our national motto? Makey saying one Guyana apparently cannot pronounce the other words. So he decided to use 2 words. He know Guyana, and he know the word one. So he throw away the rest, because he cannot discern, and he cannot pronounce them. So hence he's with one Guyana. So when people out there who are supposed to be learned people following Dunstub, they, in my book, they are showing they are more dunce than the Dunstub, because they are saying the words of the Dunstub. So when you do a program highlighting the symbols of nationhood, and you pass it out there, I think the public will not follow the Dunstub and its dunceness. They will know the motto: one people, one nation, one destiny. Bye-bye.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. I see a voice note. Christianity, religion, that's what they used to suppress us. Now go walk here. Where's this voice note? Oh, here it is. Call over the line. All right. Call over live. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to one and all. Hiraki, I am from I'm from Georgetown, born and grew up in Georgetown, right? I think the erudition of the African culture, and by an extension, the African people, started years ago in Georgetown, right? I mean, a lot of people won't agree with me saying that, but I think it did, because growing up, we weren't taught to be Afrocentric. I can remember hearing about Hindu services going on. I forget what you call them. And in Indian areas like Ikiti, certain parts of West Bengal, and so on, and those services were well attended by mostly Indian people, of course, and some black folks who went there too, right? They took part in the services, and they ate and everything, and it was all good. But as soon as you it was a taboo even to mention that you were going. I'm talking when I was growing up. It was a taboo to mention that you're going to a Buxton, a Victoria, a Den Amstel, a Port Newton to attend an African service, because they were told such bad things that and people thought, oh, you're going to dance kung fu, you're going to be spirits going to jump into you, you're going to dance in your head and so on. But the reason why I brought this up is because it shows that how far we are from our culture, and I think that culture unifies people, culture and religion, right? It brings people together, because most of the people that I knew when I was growing up, that the Indian people who were going to these services, they weren't very much interested in these services. Some of them weren't even very religious or not like that, but they went there because they were encouraged to do so by the elders, right? And these services brought them together, brought the people together. It taught them unity. It taught them a state of belonging. It taught them to keep things within your community, keep things within your ethnic group, right? Whether it was business, whether it was culture, whether it was art or whatever. Like you just mentioned for the cooking, which is not only that, they talk about carpentry, mechanic, and all these things. Even in the bush, where you found back in them days, there weren't lots of Indian people in the bush, but now they are, because the black folks and some people, they taught them the trade there, right, and now they're the dominant force there. So our people needs to understand. First of all, I think we were failed by our elders, not teaching us to be Afrocentric, not teaching us to be proud Africans, right? So we lost. We don't know to preserve our culture. We don't know to preserve anything. If we learn anything, we know anything. We just we just teach other people and not even know the value of those things that we know. But we teaching other people, and other people, other races in particular, they know the value of it, and they take the teachings from we the things that we train away, actually we train away because we teaching them, we train away, and they take those teaching and they develop it into an art, and they're making a living out of it, right? So I think that with that, I think that one of the things that we need to do, I think African leaders, the AGNA and any other African organizations, they need to start being a more presence in our society, teaching the youngsters, the youngsters that come up now, teach them about our culture, teach them how to be African, teach them how to be proud, teach them what they need to preserve and these kind of things. Because it's like we're like headless chickens out there. We don't know anything about our culture. You ask an Indian person, whatever, and they, like I said, they're not even religious, but they're gonna tell you something about their culture. They're gonna show you something about their culture, but we can't, because we thinking that we could go out there and we would survive. We can go buy it from anybody. We could go spend our monies anywhere and all these kind of things. And we're not spending our money in our own community. We're not supporting our own businesses. Before I leave, I'm going to give one more example of let's look at the transportation situation. I can remember back in the day there were one major taxi service. I mean before this one, you know, the one from East Street, I think it was DR, something like that. That was one the foundation one, but the biggest one back in the days I can remember was one that this guy had on I think it was South Road. I think it started with S. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a black guy, right? And that was a major taxi service, and that was the biggest. There were no other taxi service then. Really, that was big as that. And then Green Knights came into power. And then Indian Chief came into service and all these things, and they took over the whole. And black people, their main supporters, right? They're black people. Right, and they're black taxi services in Georgetown as well, and they don't support the black taxi service the way they support the Indian taxi services. So we need to learn how to support our own businesses and so on, right? And that's why I think that our leaders, our African leaders, our Afrocentric organizations need to step in, right? Even to have these programs here and start teaching our people how to be proud, how to support their own car. That's the only way I think we will recreate, because we've already created wealth for this whole country, right? But we will recreate wealth for ourselves.
Thank you, Colin.
I think that we need to have our African organizations step in and teaching us things. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, while sitting here and thinking about, because people and so, I haven't dwelt much in the Methodist Church. But almost every time I hear about a Methodist priest, you all help me, how many of you are Methodist members? No, I'm not sorry. Sorry, not Methodist, Catholics. How many are Catholics? What do your priests look like? Where do they come from? Christianity doesn't divide us by color and race. But almost every time I think of a Catholic priest, I can come up with a Portuguese. Or some people of that tan. I wonder how many black Catholic priests there are. And if there are any Indo Catholic priests and Amerindo Catholic priests and so on. I don't know, I'm asking. Those of you who are Catholics, maybe you can help me understand. Call live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. I think good morning, everyone in the diaspora and all Guyanese. I think this has been one of your best teachings ever. And I've been listening to you for at least a year. So for whatever that's worth, you are on target. You done kill a whole lot of devils with this speech, with this teaching. You understand me? So I want you to know that a whole lot of dead bodies are lying around. A whole lot of zombies get cast down this morning. And that is why you notice the raising trying to resurrect. Because the zombie buried in the church. A man used to tell me a long time ago, when you throw a brick into a crowd of dogs, the dog that get hit is the dog gets hollow out the most. So keep on teaching, my brother. Teach hard. You right on target. Don't move from there. I'm telling you that. You was in, you know, you like you was teaching to Lapentaire this morning. You're in the graveyard. You're resurrecting, you're resurrecting the dead this morning. I want you to know that. Now, you spoke about ownership, and I want to move us slightly. You spoke about ownership, something that was inherent about us, some quality about us that we had culturally, intellectually, and that we allowed others to take from us. You spoke about giving so much that ended up to be giving away so much of ourselves, we don't even recognize ourselves any longer. We have been made, and we've been made other than ourselves. History in Guyana says this, that Africans came here and fought for this land. And the best thing I could take away from this discussion this morning is this story. Africans fought for over 100, 200 years to build Guyana. And we know in the United States it's the right of might. You fight for it, you win it, you own it. Or you have a historical right to it. Want us to understand that. The right of might. The Amerindians were here, but they allowed themselves to be conquered and gave up what they had. We came, we were enslaved, but we fought for it, and the slave master or the colonizers liberated it to us, the African Guyanese. Liberated it to us because the Europeans had no idea of liberating Guyana. So Guyana was liberated. The question I want people to contemplate in this whole discussion this morning about having something and then losing it. You see, a lot of people try to tell us we are one people, one nation, one destiny. I want to come to that in a second. We have historical ownership of Guyana, to African Guyanese. We were the ones who liberty was conferred to, not East Indians, not Portuguese. I'm talking about what we have and we give it away, not Chinese. The patrimonies, the natural wealth, those are all patrimonies which were conferred upon African Guyanese under Emancipation Proclamation. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Go and look at the Emancipation Proclamation and tell me what was conferred in that document. And then you find me an East Indian from India that was here. You see, when people quick to tell you, oh, we are one people, we are one nation, we are one destiny, wrong. Is our destiny the same with the PPP's destiny? Has it ever been the same? Never. So how we got one destiny? See, when people want to do sleight of hand, because you have possession, historical possession, and all that is tied up in the reparations, They want to benefit that. So if you own the thing and they become one with you, then they own what you have. See? Sleight of hand. So that's how we fall into that thing, one people, one nation, one destiny. Are we one people? Have we ever been one people? It's a nice slogan. It's an aspiration for which we must aspire to. But we've been living it for at least 60 years. Can we say we are one people? Can we say we have one destiny? No. So while we like to aspire to the good in that, that in substance is a fleeting illusion, remain to be achieved. But you must also understand that if you grab on to that one destiny, then you, at the same time you're grabbing on to something, you are being cajoled, being usurped to let loose of your rightful place. Like a dog in the bone. Remember the dog in the bone story? So black people must understand that our rightful patrimony is in the document of Proclamation Emancipation. Look and see what was conferred to us, our scholars, our historians. And then find the people who rightfully qualified for that historically. So the next question is, what are our historical patrimonies? Can East Indians qualify for that? No. Can Chinese qualify for that? No. Portuguese? No. This is not race. This is actual facts. If you weren't here, you weren't here. I'm talking about the central theme. You're not to make black pudding. But now you don't value your skill in making black pudding. You fought for the land. The land was liberated in your name. You no longer value what you have earned in enslavement. And you allow others to come here because they got a birth certificate. They now want to take away your patrimonies and give it away. And you are left wanting.
Thank you, sir.
So I know many of us may never have been introduced to the fact that we've got ownership of historical accomplishments and patrimonies, which no one else can qualify for. Now, our Amerindian brothers were here, but we can arbitrate that with them and discuss that with them.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Ziggy tells us we are one people. One nation, one destiny, Ziggy Brutus. And I shouldn't tell people not to spend money here, not to spend money there. We are only one people, one nation, one destiny. We are only one people. When we identify the division and how the division should benefit us and affect others. That's when these folks come out of the woodwork to shout one people, one nation, one destiny. Are we one people, one nation, one destiny? With the manner in which this current cabal is distributing the nation's resource, go to West Barbies, East Barbies. I got a list. 19 NDCs, 19 Democratic councils, 17 of them were given grants by this administration, and 2 were given no grants. The 2 are predominantly black communities, and they are chaired. The majority of the NDC is black people. If you don't understand, read my lips, Ziggy. Look into my eyes, you might get a little wisdom. You know what I'm saying? 19 neighborhood democratic councils, of which this wicked and vindictive corrupt cabal gave 17 of them grants, $4 million grant each. The 17 that received are controlled by the PPP. And the communities they look over are predominantly Indo-Guyanese communities. The two that didn't receive are controlled by Afro-Guyanese, black people. And the communities they look over are predominantly black. Where is the oneness? Where is the oneness? If there is no oneness in the distribution of states' resources, where else can you find the oneness? In the minds of Ziggy Butas and the likes. Yeah, we want people, one nation, one destiny. When you want to take our money out of our communities and put it into yours to develop it and then look across us and say, y'all ain't got no purpose. Our only purpose is to enrich you and your type. Go to hell. It's 6 minutes after 9. I can take one more call. Let me see if there's a voice note. I told a friend of mine this morning that this morning's topic will create a lot of enemies. If you're listening, you will tell me if I was right or wrong. But enemies or not, I am stronger for it. Because these are things that we have to put in the open. We got to wash our dirty linen in public. I said yesterday sometime, putting your dirty linen outside is the only way of helping yourself. Because the sunlight has cleansing qualities, disinfecting qualities. And so sometimes you just got to throw it out in the sun to disinfect it. Remember when you used to piss your bed? Your parents beat you and tell you, make us put that thing outside. Because they know the quality of the sun. It's going to dry out and it's going to disinfect. 7 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Final call for the morning. Call A Live, good morning.
Morning, Kadaki, and morning, Ghana, and everyone else that's listening. One of the things that I always like to ask, I was brought up under Christianity, but the thing I would like to know was that Christianity is about, about 3,000 years old? So what is it that the Africans practiced before they were colonized and beaten into Christianity? What it is that we practiced? But apparently, we are so ingrained in this stuff is that we have no idea of ourselves and we will fall for everything. Again, when the Indians have their Pagwa Day, you see more Africans doing Pagwa. When it's our Emancipation Day, how many Indians you see out there putting on African outfit? We are simply lost when it comes to ourselves. And a previous caller had made that AFGA and some of the other Afro organization in Guyana have to do a better job. But I guess if parents don't know anything, they cannot teach anything. And our deficiency in knowing who we are have caused so much, what could I say, so much pain for us, is that even when we have the opportunity to do right by our people, we let them down day in and day out. And again, what is it that we practice before Christianity? And I will leave it like that.
Thank you, caller. It's now 9 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Let's listen to Richie Spice as we go out. Let me remind you that tomorrow there will be no Oldies program. I have a death in the family, and so I have funeral and so on and repast and so on, they say. And so I won't be available to do the Oldies program. But listen out, maybe I'll give you a Sunday treat. Just maybe.
I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, you have to know who you are. Them say, when you say black bus, you fit turn back. Them say, nothing good never come out of black. Get crack cause what? I say into black. But my complexion, me say me know it. I'm proud to be black. I'm a black to be proud. Marcus Garvey lead out 10 million black. I'm black to be proud. I'm proud to be black. So if you with me, won't you shout it out loud? Boy, black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Some bleach out them skin and think them out the win. Some bleach out them skin until it get in. Some bleach out them skin, see that them can't yell the kingdom from your bleach out your skin, boy, your sin. Boy, I'm a true Rasta man. Listen to songs that I sing. I'm a true Rasta man, and me Babylon can't trim. I'm a true Rasta man, smoking me herb doing me thing. So Babylon listen to the fire when me a fling. Boy, black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud you better know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. I'll never betray my brother. No. Malcolm X come and teach the masses. Yeah. He said you better know yourself. Be yourself. Never be another one. So how could I man come betray? Yeah. I am who I am. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. I'm black and I'm proud I have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every ghetto.
You're listening.
Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, you have to know who you are. Them say, when you say black bus, you fit turn back. Them say, nothing good never come out of black. Get crack cause what? I say into black. But my complexion, me say me know it. I'm proud to be black. I'm a black to be proud. Marcus Garvey lead out 10 million black. I'm black to be proud. I'm proud to be black. So if you with me, won't you shout it out loud? Boy, black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Some bleach out them skin and think them out the win. Some bleach out them skin until it get in. Some bleach out them skin, see that them can't yell the kingdom from your bleach out your skin, boy, your sin. Boy, I'm a true Rasta man. Listen to songs that I sing. I'm a true Rasta man, and me Babylon can't trim. I'm a true Rasta man, smoking me herb doing me thing. So Babylon listen to the fire when me a fling. Boy, black like a tar. Black, I'm I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud you better know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. I'll never betray my brother. No. Malcolm X come and teach the masses. Yeah. He said you better know yourself, be yourself, never be another one. So how could I man come betray? Yeah. I am who I am. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud I have to know who you are.